this night on, I use every means in my power to fight you.
It's an adage as old as Robin Hood.
We can steal back from the rich what they've already stolen from us.
Anger rooted in economic inequality.
We are the United States.
Here in Canada, recent numbers suggest the top earning 10% of Canadian families control almost half of the country's net worth, while the bottom half own just 6% of the wealth.
The White House revealed that the president will address
that widening gap has the attention of Barack Obama, who made economic inequality a major theme of his most recent State of the Union address.
Some corporations pay nothing, while others pay full freight.
That idea is shared by filmmaker Harold Crooks in his new documentary, The Price We Pay.
Does Apple Inc. own directly or indirectly AOI, AOE, and ASI?
Yes.
And where is AOI a tax resident?
It does not have a tax residency.
Which highlights how some multinationals avoid paying billions in taxes, leaving the rest of us to pay a bigger share of government services like roads and hospitals. I met up with Crooks earlier when he came to Toronto to promote his film.
In the last few years, there's been a lot of talk about the 1%. What's the link, you argue, between inequality and tax havens?
Well, tax havens are a project of the 1%. They're a project of the world's wealthy. They're a project of the world's most powerful corporations and of the world's most powerful banks.
But how does it hurt the rest of us? How does it turn the rest of us into the 99?
Well, it turns the rest of us commoners, the 99%, into having to bear an increasing amount every year of the tax burden of society, which is what is bringing us back statistically to a distribution of tax on people's shoulders that resembles before the French Revolution.
Where the little people pay and the big people don't.
And the 1% don't.
So if these big multinationals that report their profits in, say, the Cayman Islands, if all of those companies were to pay their taxes, how much are we talking about?
We're talking about hundreds of billions of dollars. Tax havens, in fact, are fictions. There's nothing really there. As someone in the film says, that the Caymans could disappear beneath the ocean and it would still be the fourth largest financial center on the planet. What it means is that much of the world's wealth that is booked to tax havens is simply on a separate set of books in London or New York or wherever. It is an accounting and legal fiction, very, very much underpinned by the world's leading accounting firms that make billions of dollars of profits from this fiction of tax havens.
But people don't like paying taxes. So.
Well, people don't like paying taxes, that's true, but people, I think, do like paying taxes when they get something in return. What they don't like is the shifting of the tax burden from, shall we say, the 1% onto the majority of society. They don't like the shifting of the tax burden onto the middle class, the working class, and they don't like the shifting of the tax burden unfairly from multinational corporations to domestic business, to regional business, to local business, which, as we all know, when all is said and done, are the major employers in our societies.
There's a few moments in your film where you have American or UK politicians grilling some of these multinational executives about how they're using the roads, how they're using the systems, but not paying for it.
Our goal as a company is
to... So you're minimising your tax even though it's unfair to British taxpayers?
It's not unfair to British taxpayers. We pay all the tax you require us to pay in the UK. We paid £6 million of tax last year.
We're not accusing you of being illegal, we're accusing you of being immoral.
Is that how not paying tax, it comes down to sort of like practical issues?
It comes down to very practical issues. It comes down to the question of whether we can have a public health system, whether we can have a public education system, whether we can have environmental regulation, whether we can have the whole spectrum of public services, public culture, that basically adds up to a civilized existence.
So they don't have to pay tax anywhere.
So they're able to take
through
a
the Cayman
system.
Islands.
They're able to take a system that was conceived for the manufacturing age to avoid double taxation, and through clever accounting to transform it into double non-taxation. So they're paying taxation. They're paying taxes nowhere. At the same time that we're being told that we have to tighten our belts, we can't afford health care, we can't afford education, we can't afford the recreation of our infrastructure.
But all our governments talk about, or all our parties here talk about how they love the middle class. If it's so wrong, then why wouldn't they change it?
I think that this is rhetoric that can't be taken seriously. Governments now see it as their role to compete for jobs and investment.
But isn't that a good thing?
It is not a good thing, because it means that by permitting multinational corporations to play countries off against each other, you accelerate this process of countries beggaring their neighbor. The case that's made in the film is that no government on its own, except maybe the United States and China, are large enough to stand up to this process in which one country is able to steal from the tax base of another country.
By saying, come here and we'll
That's right. Come to Ireland, come to Luxembourg, come to Liechtenstein, come to the Caymans, and we will make it possible for you to not pay the kinds of taxes that an advanced society requires.
But are you asking then that there be sort of a global entente, that everyone...
This is something that's happening right now, and that 2015 is going to be the year in which tax rules, as a result of public pressure, are going to be rewritten.
We've seen all of this violence in Europe recently. An increase in anti-immigration protests and killings and so on. Is there a link between what you're talking about and what we're seeing happening in Europe?
I think there's a very significant link to mass social protests, the rise of right-wing parties. Even in North America, I would say the rise of the Tea Party, and even closer to home, Ford Nation. I mean, what is it all about in the end? It's about taxation. It's about people in the suburbs of Toronto feeling, not understanding what the great pressures, the forces that are driving this, but they're feeling an increase of tax burden. So it's easy to demonize government. It's easy to direct your frustration and your fear and your panic towards government, and not really understand what the true drivers of the shifting of the tax burden onto your shoulders are. And what the film goes into is the real drivers are the offshoring of the world's wealth that's been accelerating since the 1960s. A lot of this protest goes beyond mere tax protest. It's a protest against austerity. It's a protest against 50% youth unemployment. It's a protest against the people being told they can no longer have the social services that their parents had, or even their grandparents. And so it's a phenomena that North Americans are also experiencing.
Well, a lot of people think that Occupy failed.
No, I don't think
disappeared.
I don't think Occupy failed. I think Occupy has entered the consciousness of the planet. And I think that it is one of the things that's setting the stage for whatever necessary transformations hopefully will come in the next half century or so.
Well, it's been a pleasure to talk to you. Yeah.
Thanks, Wendy.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.